I know what you're thinking. Is influencing dead? Do brands still pay influencers? Does influencer marketing work? Like, do people even listen to influencers' recommendations anymore? Well, the reason why I know that you're thinking that is because you clicked on this video. And don't worry, because I'm gonna dive deep into the whole topic of whether or not influencing is truly dead in this video. So if you like content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button because I upload new videos every single week. Now, I'm going to assume that you've seen at least one video, probably on TikTok, from someone announcing the death of the influencing industry, right? And because of the way TikTok works, if you've seen one of those videos, you've probably seen 10 of those videos. And when you see a lot of that content in one short span of time, it can really, really influence what you believe and what you truly think. And I'm here to tell you that whilst a lot of people believe that influencing is dead, it's not. The industry is not dead, it's just massively changing. And I want to ensure that you are fully aware of the ways that it's changing so you can keep yourself ahead of the curve. So first of all, one of the biggest changes happening to the industry is that there's a huge shift towards the more relatable influencer. Now, there's a few different ways that you can describe this influencer. Some call them like comfort creators, which I quite like. And it's the idea of these influencers who create very kind of mundane content, if you will allow me to call it that, where they're doing really run-of-the-mill, like average things. They're cleaning their flat, they're going for walks, they're walking their dog. I mean, those two things are probably the same thing, but they're doing like everyday tasks in their very relatable life. They don't live in mansions, they live in flats, they live in modest houses. You know, they don't have cleaners, they don't have butlers or whatever it is that super rich people have. They're just like you and they're just like me, which is what makes them super relatable. Another example of this influencer are influencers who have jobs. And you might have heard this topic be discussed as well because this is doing the rounds. This idea that brands actually want to work with influencers or creators who still have a day job. And the reason why there is a shift towards this type of influencer is because those influencers tend to have more engaged audiences. Obviously, I'm generalizing here, but from an overall view, it looks like those comfort influencers or those influencers who have day jobs actually have a more engaged audience, and it all comes down to the relatability element that I mentioned before. Their audience are more engaged with their lives because they can see themselves in their lives. They therefore find it easier for them to really consume and get lost in that creator's content. Now, from a brand's perspective, they love working with these types of influencers, not just because they have a more engaged audience, but also because brands find it easier to tell a story when an influencer has a day job or is doing something in their life which is relatable to their audience. For example, let's say there's like a cleaning brand who wants to sell, I don't know, their new Hoover to someone. Now, previously, they would recruit an influencer who had a huge audience and an engaged audience, and they'd be like, great, let's give them the Hoover, let's pay them to post about this Hoover, right? Now, that might help them reach some of their goals, but if they actually found an influencer who already shows themselves cleaning, and therefore when they show themselves cleaning using this Hoover, it's far more realistic, relatable, and there's more of a narrative around it. If they work with an influencer like that, they often see better results from that influencer because it's easier to tell a story and it's easier for that brand's products to fit into their usual content. There's also something to say about the level of credibility and trust that these types of influencers tend to have with their audience, because if you're working with an influencer or creator who has a day job, for example, and they promote a brand, their audience might be more likely to believe this promotion and actually see it as authentic because they know that the influencer has a day job and that the influencer is not just taking any old sponsorship that they can get in order to keep themselves afloat. Obviously, not all influencers do that. Like, I'm technically an influencer and I don't do that, but I know that there are a lot of influencers who do that. But not only that, there is a huge perception that if an influencer is ever promoting a product to you, they're doing it for the money and they're not doing it because they actually love the product. And comfort influencers tend to not be under as much scrutiny when it comes to them promoting a brand. So what does this mean for you? As an influencer or a creator watching this, what does this mean for you? It means that in order to really thrive in this new space, we need to pay more attention to the narrative that we create in our content. And I say we because I need to do this more as well. So ensuring that we are trying our best to tell a story and using our everyday life to really bolster that story is what's going to allow us to play in this space more. It does not mean that you need to now get a job if you didn't already have one. You don't need to now get a job and be like, okay, well, I've got to get a job just so that, you know, I get hired more by these brands. That's not what I'm saying. It just means that people want relatability. So sharing more about your life, obviously don't share anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing. But sharing more about your everyday life is going to help you become more relatable and help your audience bond with you more. Now, another change that's come to the influencer industry or economy is that there's more competition. Right? There are more content creators out there. I'm partly to blame for that. I'm literally just helping people become creators. So if that bothers you, my apologies. I am a sincere believer in the idea that there is enough of everything to go around for everyone. So by no means am I saying like, oh my God, there's more competition, which means that no one could be successful anymore. I don't believe that at all. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't admit that, of course, there are more influencers and creators now in this space. And as a result of that, there is steeper competition amongst influencers and creators when it comes to brand partnerships. A big reason why there are more influencers in this space is not just because I am helping people become an influencer. I will not take the fall for all of it. It's also because of platforms like TikTok, which have massively helped creators and influencers gain a huge audience at a rapid rate, and it's resulted in a lot more influencers entering the market. Now, it's also worth noting that whilst there are more influencers, there's also more money. Brands are putting more and more money into their influencer marketing because it works. The ROI for influencer marketing is significantly higher than more traditional forms of marketing like TV advertising. So because of that, they're still pumping more money into it, and they'll continue to do this until that is no longer a fact. Now, this shouldn't make most influencers or content creators panic, because at the end of the day, if you have good content and you have an engaged audience, you will be able to find brands who would want to work with you because you will have something of value to offer them. The only creators and influencers who should be panicked by what I've just said are the creators or influencers who have fake audiences. They will be the first ones to feel the biggest hit from this, because at the end of the day, if there are more influencers in this space and you have an audience who are completely fake and they're full of bots, you will be the ones who will miss out on brand deals. It will be the ones with a real audience and authentic engagement who will see success. The ones with the fake engagement and fake followers, like, they're the ones who are going to miss out. So if that's you, there's absolutely no judgment here, and it's not the end of the world. But what I'm going to need you to do is to stop buying the followers and the engagement, start removing all of those fake followers from your page, and really start to focus on building authentic engagement. The final point I want to make is that the industry is evolving, and it is totally natural for the industry to evolve, and it will never stop evolving either. Like, this is just a big shift that we're going through now, but there'll be another one in like 10 or so years. There's a significant generational shift. So if we look back to the like original Instagram influencers, they are mostly millennials now, and they're kind of moving on and doing slightly different things. And when that happens, a new generation comes in, and with a new generation comes different styles of content, right? And this new generation are, of course, Gen Z. Gen Z are incredibly video focused. They take videos before they take a photo, which as a millennial, I still find wild, right? But they are video focused. And as a result of that, a lot of social media channels are evolving and adapting to be video focused too. Now, that doesn't mean that anyone of any generation can't see success in this industry. Of course, that's not what it means. It just means that we all, from every generation, need to adapt and shift to meet the new style of content that's now super popular, which is your video content and your storytelling. Like, that's really where they thrive. Whereas I would say the older school influencers were more about really pretty photos. Like, that is kind of where they thrived. Things are changing, and if we want to keep up with the times, then we need to be able to adapt to these changes and just make sure we're doing so in a way that feels authentic to ourselves. But overall, it's not dead. It's actually on track to be a $22 billion industry in 2023. So it's definitely not dead, but my God, is it changing. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, then I recommend watching this video. It's all about how content creators or influencers can stand out online. Thank you so much for watching. As always, can't wait to see you in my next video.